and they were crying because I had died. And I wanted to tell them, no, I'm not dead. I'm fine. I don't know what's going on, but I'm fine. And then I moved on, and I saw 4 human figures standing off to my left. They were in street clothes, and they looked very concerned for me, like something terrible was about to happen to me. But I didn't know what, and I wasn't scared. I wasn't confused. I was just there. So I kept going along, and all of a sudden this horrendous noise that I can't describe at all came, and there's something like pulling through the middle of me, like a huge rope or something pulling and burning through the middle of me. And then it stopped. The thought at first came, there is no God. Then that happened, and then I knew that God existed. Now I knew it's just as much as anything. I mean, put my hand here, you can't ever tell me that's not my hand. I know it's my hand. That's how I knew. I knew God existed. And I was so excited because the majority of my life I didn't believe in God. I wanted to, but I just didn't. There was nothing that could convince me. Well, this convinced me. I felt this peace, this incredible feeling that I wouldn't even begin to describe. But it was incredible, and I was so happy. And I think even the pull of wanting to go back and see my husband or my children was not as strong as this pull towards whatever was happening to me. It was so incredible. And then the same noise came, and the same pulling through the middle of me, and the thought came, there is no heaven. And the same thing happened, the same pulling and noise, and it stopped. And I knew that heaven existed. I saw this brilliance, and I was moving toward it, and I knew that's where I was going. And the excitement, the exhilaration, I don't know, words I can't describe, was there. But then, all of a sudden, the noise came again, and it stopped, and the bottom dropped out, just like you're in an elevator, and the floor opens up, and you start falling into total darkness. And the thought came, there is a hell. And I started falling and screaming into this darkness, total darkness, absolute darkness. And I was screaming out, God, I believe in you. I believe in you. Please, please take me from this place. And just screaming and screaming. But I knew, it felt like that nobody knew I was there, that I had ceased to exist, that God didn't even know I was there. I was just totally isolated, falling in this darkness for eternity. I couldn't commit suicide. I couldn't hit bottom. I was going to fall and burn in this place forever and ever and ever. And screaming and screaming, God, please, please forgive me. And I believe in you. And all of a sudden it just stopped. And I started spiraling backwards, back into the tunnel, back to the entrance of it. And I heard a voice say clearly, bring people to me. And then I came back into the surgery room at that point. I knew it was the voice of God. I came back into the surgery room, and the doctors, I had things coming out from every part of my body and people working over me feverishly. And I was screaming at them, there is a God, there is a God. And they would put me back to sleep again. But I went into the recovery room, and I told Don what had happened. I mean, I was so excited. I couldn't, I was so excited. God exists. I told him, and he believed me, which was a miracle. So from that day forward, that's all I have done in my life. It's been that type of evangelism to let people know God does exist. God is there, no matter the grief that we go through, losing a husband or a child or your mother or friend, whatever. I mean, it's all grief. We do have to go through that. But there's something so far better and so unbelievably well. And I know I'm not a special person. God didn't just reach out and, okay, you're going to be okay, and this one's not. God doesn't do that. And I think everyone at the point of death has a choice to make in knowing what's there for them. And there are some people, believe it or not, that are so truly evil that they do choose to follow the darkness. And, I know there's probably people that have experienced hell, have said other things about seeing demons and seeing things. I believe they're there. I don't know where I was in hell, how far I went in hell. I don't know. I'm never going back there. I can tell you that. And, it's exciting for me to be able to watch people who have this hopeless feeling of grief or this hopeless feeling that they'll never be okay again, to know you will be, that you need to have God on your side though. And if you don't, it's not going to be an easy path, but it's much easier when you have, others around you who believe the same. And there's a whole lot of us out there that have similar stories and want nothing more than to reach out to a lost and hurting world.
Do you know how long the experience was, and did it feel longer or shorter?
Longer, a lot longer than what I've experienced here. It didn't go real fast by any means, and just the being able to bathe in that beautiful place I could have stayed there forever, but that it's even much better than that, and I know that our loved ones, where they are, they're happy. If you had a loved one that say, well, they didn't believe in God when they died, so I'm sure they went to hell. Well, don't think that, because you don't know what goes on during the dying process. They have a choice. And like I said, there are those that choose to go with evil because that's what they want. They want that. And they want to be God of their own eternity and can be if they want to be. But that's not anything compared to what heaven is. So I know people go to hell, but I don't think it's as easy as people make it out to be. I think we have a loving, forgiving God, and that during the dying process, that loved one that may not have seemed like because I certainly was not a Christian. I wasn't anything. I didn't believe in any afterlife at all. I really didn't. And life had shown me that. But now I know. So I don't know how it was. It's brief when I'm telling it, but it was not brief. It was, I don't know how long, but longer.